Let's bring in Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry and former Georgia Congressman Doug Collins. Gentlemen, thank you for this. Doug Collins, this Texas tragedy, this guy was a criminal, and somehow he was loose. I don't know, he was released back into the interior with an ankle bracelet or whatever. I don't know why it wasn't behind bars. It was a criminal, the tragic Rachel Morin in the suburbs of Baltimore, Maryland. You had a criminal in this terrible raping of the teenager in Queens, New York. I mean, I don't understand how anybody can tolerate this. I don't understand why it is that the whole country isn't in favor of deporting all these criminals. I mean, how did they get into this country? This Texas story that Nate Foy just reported on, the ICE people knew he was a criminal and released him anyway? I don't understand that. I don't understand how that's possible.
Well, it's good to be with you, but this is a sad story. We didn't even mention Laken Riley down here in Athens. Same thing, murder,
Yes.
illegal immigrant
Yes.
did this. I mean, this is what happens when you have a border that is unprotected and you have men and women of our Border Patrol, ICE agents who are, instead of doing their job, they're being basically told to hold people and to send them away from the border so that the Biden administration can't show the pictures of people congregating at the border. This is a willful attempt by the Biden administration to forego our immigration laws. And at the same time, it's putting the rest of the country in peril. The best thing that could have ever happened for people to understand that we're in danger and national security risk or our border was when they started farming them out to everywhere else in the country. And then the people began to see how this was overwhelming our system, taking our security to a risk. And also, here's the part, Larry, we see these like this that are very bad, but we're not even counting the ones who've walked across from terrorism watch lists or who maybe plan ourselves who are coming across with no vetting at all.
You know, Scott Perry, I mean, the open border catastrophe, Biden's open border catastrophe, has created essentially a national safety crisis, No state is safe. I mean, in a sense, as others have said, we're all border states now. Doesn't matter where you are geographically. Let me ask you, though, in Washington, so Biden has this executive order. The executive order has apparently reduced the volume of illegals by about 25%. But the numbers are still running well ahead of the 2,500 a day that Biden advertised and said, for example, he'd close down the border until it got even lower. In other words, I don't see his executive order being enforced. That's what troubles me.
Well, Larry, thanks to be with you. Good to be with my friend Doug. He and I have been in this battle for a very long time. Let me just start with the executive order. It's meaningless. Let's remember, too, who's keeping the numbers. It's the same administration that has told you for 3.5 years they couldn't do anything about this. The executive order itself is full of loopholes. So I suspect actually that the numbers are higher. But whether you're in Georgia or whether you're in Baltimore, by the way, the young lady that was killed outside of Baltimore is also a suburb of Pennsylvania, just a short drive from Pennsylvania. And I don't know the exact location of Laken Riley's death, what that community looked like, but it's far from Mexico and their southern border. Number one, it's far from the New York border. But the lady that was that lost her life, that was murdered brutally just in a place called Bel Air, Maryland, was out on the rail trail. And so when you talk about the safety and security of Americans, this is all collateral damage to the Biden administration, to President Biden himself, and to the Democrats. The point is they don't care about Americans and the lives of Americans and the terror that Americans feel unsafe to go out in their homes as long as they can continue with their agenda, which is unstoppable, unbridled, illegal immigration, illegal entry into our country. And if criminals and terrorists have to come to get those voters, well, then so be it. And if people like the 12 years old, 12 years old. If the little 12-year-old girl or the 37-year-old lady or Laken Riley had to lose their life brutally for this effort, well, then the Biden administration and the Democrats say, well, so be it.
Do we have the quote, Trump, on the kids going to school? If you get a diploma, you should get a green card with the diploma. Do we have that? Can we play that? All right. Let me just let our two congressmen hear this quote from former President Trump.
What I want to do and what I will do is you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically as part of your diploma a green card to be able to stay in this country. You need brilliant people.
Scott Perry and Doug Collins. Doug Collins, let me go to you. This is Mr. Trump. Now, no one's ever going to accuse Mr. Trump about being soft on the open border. And in fact, he talks, in the same speech paragraph about a massive deportation program. But it is an interesting wrinkle. I interviewed him before the Business Roundtable, 10, 12 days ago. He made this point. If you get a diploma from a 2-year or 4-year college or graduate school, you should get a green card because we'd like to keep and attract the best and the brightest. Doug Collins, what do you think of Mr. Trump's idea on this point?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not taking anything away from stopping at the border, which he would do up front, but dealing with folks who are here that have a pathway. This is an issue that has come up before. It's been something that's been before Congress before, but I think it's not to be narrowly defined. I think it would have to be in some ways looked at, but we can't do really any of this. And I think Donald Trump understands this until we actually close the border and then begin to get a handle on all the other problems that we've got with the immigration system. So look, I think he's looking forward. I think he understands the situation, but he also understands the first part is you got to stop the flow at the border before anything else can happen.
And Scott Perry, I'm going to give you the last word, last 30 seconds, please.
Sure.
But the deportation idea, he goes back to Dwight Eisenhower, General Eisenhower, President Eisenhower. The deportation idea, when you poll on this, as you probably know, Scott, is very popular. And when you see these horrible, hideous, monstrous stories in New York and Maryland and Georgia and Texas and so forth, deportation of criminals is going to be a big issue, don't you think?
Well, they shouldn't be here in the first place. And not only are they preying on American citizens who are just trying to live their lives, but then we have to incarcerate them and pay in our taxes to keep ourselves safe from people that shouldn't be here in the first place. So I think that's why it's very popular. We don't want to be afraid to go out of our homes at night or in the day in our own communities. And many Americans tell me they're afraid. A lady that served me lunch today told me she's afraid to live in her own country. It is ridiculous, which is why the deportation issues of these animals and these criminals is so popular.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Congressman Scott Perry and Doug Collins, we appreciate it very, very much.